Hello everyone, we are back again after taking a little bit of a break on Labor Day weekend. I did note, but I also relaxed in that time, and we are continuing on with season previews today. We will be talking about the Dallas Stars. Now, before we start, please make sure to subscribe if you're new and you want to support me or be here along the way as I try to do this full-time one day. If not, or if you're on the fence, let's just talk about the Stars. Maybe you'll be convinced by the end of the video. So, Dallas is a team that was very interesting this past season, as they went 46-30-6 for 98 points and got into the playoffs thanks to a strong run towards the back half of the end of this season. The wild card team put on a show in the first round as well, led by their now infamous goalie Jake Oettinger. The Texas team pushed the Pacific-winning Calgary Flames to 7 games in the first round before losing in agonizing fashion in overtime. Now, the group has had a whole offseason to think about this, among other things. So what should the storylines be for the team this season, and what should their expectations be, or at least my expectations for them? Buckle up, because I did my notes, and I knew that this could be a longer video, and looking at where they're at in a Word document now, I do think this could be a longer video. Anyway, let's talk about the team. And this is a team that has got a new head coach, and of course being Peter DeBoer, after Rick Bowness stepped down. If I remember correctly, he stepped down from his role, and now we have Petey. And he is a guy that, if you're a regular fan of the NHL, you've definitely heard of this man. He is known for his various stints with the New Jersey Devils, as well as the San Jose Sharks, where he was able to guide both teams to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Coached Florida too, way back when, I want to say like early 2000s, like 2008 maybe. But in general, of course, he also went over to Vegas, where he was there from the 2019-20 season, partially there, as well as being there up until this past season, was there a little bit as well. But he was the first coach ever to not make the playoffs in franchise history, and he was given the friendly boot out of Sin City and is now in Big D looking for another chance to hoist a cup as head coach. My biggest question will be circled around him and how he gets his team to work. They do have a lot of talent, but the Stars have, not been a scoring juggernaut. You look at some of the guys on Vegas, and you know that had he been there, the more that is for next season, you'd feel good about them as a team. But Dallas specifically, the past 5 seasons, has only been able to crack the top 20 for goals for per 60 once, which was the 2020-21 season, and that was where they were 20th in the league. Now, they do have goal scorers. Get that through. I want to make sure people understand that. Jason Robertson is a guy that could help, considering he had 41 goals last season, but there's no guarantee that he has another season that great, especially back-to-back, which could be problematic for DeBoer, as the fact that 23-year-old did account for 17.2% of his team's goals last season, and all that while shooting an insane, absolutely insane 18.6%. So yeah, developing a successful offensive game that maybe doesn't rely on their top players would be crucial for the franchise after they had a very top-heavy team in the 2021-22 season. On top of that, DeBoer will be tasked with other things like figuring out how to adjust for the loss of top 4 defenseman John Klingberg, who departed for the Anaheim Ducks on a bet-on-yourself type deal, a 1-year, $7 million deal in free agency. Having Miro Heiskanen, who is one of the better defensemen in the league, does make things a little bit easier, but you lose a puck-moving blue liner who averaged over 22 minutes a night. Is a hard thing to deal with regardless of who is coaching. And among other things, he's going to have a hard time trying to mold this team into his image out on the ice, but also has a chance to, really shake things up, considering this team has some guys that had career years, and they could be fun to move around or just keep on the same one. But of course, Roope Hintz too, right? I mean, he was really good as well. Now, another storyline to follow this, though, ties into how the offense does scare me a little. Do I mean this in a good way or a bad way? To be honest, I mean it in a bad way. If you look at their top 3 goal scorers last season, that being Robertson, Hintz, and Pavelski, they combined to score 105 of the team's 233 goals, and that equates to about 45.1% of the team goals. Robertson, of course, like we said, 41 Genos. Hintz had 37 when Jason's previous high, or I believe it was Roope's previous high, was 17 the season before last. Nope, that was Jason's, and then Roope's was 15 during that season as well. So let's start off talking about these two guys. They're both young, they're really promising, but we cannot say for a fact they couldn't have even a slight regression this season, which happens. I mean, it's okay. On a year-to-year basis, look at some even the greats where their terrible year is just a fall off of something minor. But we can look at this and know that they could be good, but they could be bad. The problem is you look and you say, okay, let's imagine that Robertson and Hintz either miss time or aren't scoring goals. Their goal scoring could dry up really quickly. Why? Because their third best goal scorer is Joe Pavelski. Joe is a guy that's made a career out of scoring plenty of goals with 10 years or 10 seasons with 25 goals or more. The problem lies within what I just said, though. He has played a ton of games, 1,168 over the course of the regular season, matter of fact, and he's going to be 38 heading into the season. So he's going to be expected to play on the top line as well, which does scare me because, again, let's say Robertson and Hintz have a bit of a regression. Then you're relying on a 38-year-old playing top line minutes to provide offense for you. And I know it can happen, but you look at a lot of the team that they do have outside of them. I worry about that, especially if they're going to be able to get shots down low. And on the whole scale of this, my other worry is that the other guys just won't fill the shoes of what they could be. There's two guys that I'm coming to mind here too, that being Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin. I'm probably going to catch a lot of flack for this because I know they are special in the hearts of the fan base, but they are holding this team back, at least currently. They're scheduled to take up about $19 million of the cap last season, and it is rough if you just want me to put it as simple as that. Jamie Benn looks to be their worst forward defensively after allowing the most shots against per 60, high danger chances against per 60, medium danger chances against per 60, and from the chart I saw on HockeyViz, it horrified me to see the quality of shots opposition got while he was out on the ice. Pair that with his struggles to get out of his zone effectively, you're left with a situation that makes you wonder how his goals for percentage was still almost at 50%. It was at 48% last season. To illustrate how rough it is, though, his cap hit was $8.5 million according to Evolving Hockey. I think it's going to be a little bit less this season, but his value was negative $1.5 million. And I know excessively angry fans will get defensive and say, oh, he'll have a bounce back year. He's a big leadership guy. I look at the last 2 years and you just look at his points total, and my response would be, you're telling me it's okay to pay a guy, I think he's scheduled to make about $7 million this season, this type of money when he is on a no movement clause and is just where he's at right now. I don't see it, and I know that people would get frustrated by that, but that's okay. Clearly, I know nothing about hockey, and I should probably not do anything about hockey, and you should be a GM. Anyway, what about another person, that being Tyler Seguin? The man, of course, is known, or promoted at least, as one of the best looking players in the league, and I don't know if that's why people really hype him up and still think of him as this big name player. He is a good player, don't get me wrong, or at least he's had a history of being a really good player, but I'd also say his contract absolutely terrifies me too, just like Jamie Benn. I know he really has had to battle some injuries, I completely get that, but he's going to make $13 million this season after having a 24 goal, 25 assist, 49 point season in 81 games played. And we haven't seen him look like what people view him as, in my eyes, since the 2018-19 season, meaning this either banged up or injured version of Tyler is what we could be getting going forward, or possibly even regressing further. Again, his issue is not a lot like Ben in the sense that his value is really being dragged down, or his issue is a lot like Ben, I should say, because it's being dragged down due to poor defensive play. But I am very concerned for him on the offensive end, especially at top strength or even strength. At even strength, he had 21 goals last year, which was third on the team last season, but he had an expected goals total of about 14. But looking at his offensive map on HockeyViz, it could be a big issue for him to get even strength goals this year. And that is going to be problematic, obviously. But hey, I'm a guy that talks about hockey instead of playing it, so maybe he gets back to scoring 35 plus goals. The bright side is, though, this duo will likely get a lot of minutes together, so if they do click, the offense could do better, as they played 57.6% of Jamie Benn's ice or timeout on the ice last year. And if things go like they historically have, maybe. This may be. However, let's say Seguin's goal scoring at even strength does fall off and both are playing poor defensively, then the second line could be dragging down this team even more. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried about their projected bottom sixth, as well as they combined for 49 goals last season, and you're looking at a team relying on nearly a 40-year-old goal scorer or a 40-year-old player to produce on the top line, all having two big money, hard to trade players guide their second line, and they just all around scare me. Again, Robertson and Hintz are probably going to have to be pulling hard here for this team in order for them to win some games, because the offense could be rough this year. But there is and always will be a chance that things aren't as bad as I described. And that would probably be the fact that maybe everything won't go wrong. That's like a worst case scenario. We'll see. Now into the final storyline, and that is about the Otter. Just bear with me. I know this is a longer video. Yes, unless you're new to the NHL, you have probably heard about Otter. Also, if you're new to the NHL, that's totally okay. But clearly, we remember what Jake did against the Calgary Flames in round one of the playoffs. This might have been the only chance Dallas had to win the series with him in net, and he was rewarded as an RFA with a 3-year deal, $12 million extension, giving the 23-year-old a middle-term deal where he can say, hey, I get a chance to prove myself and get paid at the same time. And I have a feeling if what we saw from him last year is what he can do, at least in the sense where he's not putting up crazy video game numbers, but still very good numbers, then we could see him be a guy in Dallas in net for quite a long time. And it's kind of looking like maybe, just maybe, Dallas is going to be just all right with having him go out there and face a lot of shots and then just win the games. It's one of those situations they lose goalies and they just bring in new ones to fill in the problem, and it cracks me up. And I think we're going to get to see plenty of them too, though. Scott Wedgwood is their backup goalie, as we are seeing, and I don't see a world where a healthy Otter doesn't play 60 games or more this year, because I think he's ready to take over and be the franchise Tindy. As for motivation for Jake, it's pretty clear. You want to be able to get a long-term deal with a lot of money, and a financial move for him would be to have a good run this year, because then they would be thinking going into next season, 2023-24 season, we've got to pay the man. Because if he has another good year, then he's going to be an RFA, and we could either have to trade him or we could have to battle with another team that wants to have him in net, which is going to be crazy to see if things continue for the 2024-25 season. We're talking about a few years down the road, actually 2025-26, doesn't matter, down the road. And I just think this could be good for the team. Having said all this, though, what do I think Dallas's expectations are as I read through my jumbled notes? I apologize if they seemed out of place. Realistically, I see Dallas having a chance at the wild card, if not better. Maybe like the third spot in the division, but a wild card team as well. If Pavelski, Ben, and Seguin just fall off a cliff offensively, and Otter can be the goalie people see him as. Also, if you get that replicated season from the top line, then they could be set up very well to win some games. And let's not forget about Miro Heiskanen, who is not getting the credit he deserves. This team was bad at finishing last year, but if it improves, then they are going to be in a good spot for W's, which is always a good thing if you're a fan. However, if Oettinger has a bad year and the team is missing the playoffs, I could see that they might not make it. One of those teams. It's one of those teams. If you're in the Central, you're going to have to fight, stab, claw, poke, everything to try to get there. So we'll have to see. And we will love to hear your opinion. What are your expectations for Dallas this season? Let me know down below in the comments. Also, please don't forget to subscribe if you are new. Everybody stay safe, have a great night, and you go hockey all right. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.